All right. So, like, have you ever thought about, like if we have uh, a moral obligation to help people in other countries?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, escape poverty.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
That's what we're talking about today.
Right.
Like the ethics of development and international aid.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's a big one,
It is.
especially, if you're a UPSC aspirant, um,
Yeah.
tackling international
For
relations.
sure, for sure.
But really, it's for anyone who, like, cares about these things.
Absolutely. Global issues are everyone's
Yeah,
issues.
exactly. So we're going to unpack different schools of thought.
Okay.
We'll look at the arguments for and against international aid,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll dive into some real world examples.
Okay.
So to kind of get us started,
Yeah.
let's take a step back.
Okay.
How has our thinking about development actually changed,
Yeah.
especially since like the 1980s?
Right. Yeah, there's been a real shift away from just market-based solutions.
Hmm.
You can really see this. I mean, think about Amartya Sen.
Ah, Amartya Sen.
Yeah.
Every UPSC aspirant knows that name.
Right.
So his concept of development is freedom.
Yeah.
That really kind of flipped the traditional approach. Right?
Totally. It's not just about GDP anymore. It's
Right.
about expanding people's choices, their
Mhm.
opportunities,
Yeah.
empowering them to live the lives they want.
So this human development approach,
Yeah.
it's really about education and healthcare and freedom too.
Absolutely. Political freedom
Yeah.
alongside economic growth.
Right, right. And this wasn't just like in the classroom.
No.
Like um think about all the global movements.
Yeah.
Jubilee 2000, right? Pushing for like debt relief or even Live Aid, raising, tons of money.
Yeah.
They were really powerful, right?
They were.
Powerful expressions of this evolving understanding.
Absolutely. It showed people connecting with struggles that were happening in other countries. It wasn't just, their own lives. They were looking at the bigger picture.
Yeah, this idea of like a global community, right?
Exactly. Facing common challenges together.
Okay, so we've got this like shifting understanding.
Yeah.
But the question is, like,
Right.
how do we decide what to do?
Yeah. Where does ethics come in?
Yeah,
Especially with international aid.
exactly.
I mean, it's not always easy.
No, it's not.
There are a couple of different ethical frameworks that we can consider.
Okay.
So the first one is realism,
Okay.
and the second one is cosmopolitanism.
Okay, so realism,
Right.
if I'm like getting this right,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about self-interest.
Yeah.
Like a country only helps another country if they're
Yeah.
going to gain something, right?
That's it.
It's kind of what's in it for me.
Exactly. They see the world as a chessboard
Yeah.
nations constantly, fighting for power and advantage.
Ugh.
So any aid they give
Yeah.
is probably tied to some kind of strategic goal.
Right.
Securing allies, opening up markets, boosting their own influence.
So like just as an example, a country might give aid to a developing nation,
Yeah.
but only if they
Yeah.
sign a trade deal
Exactly.
that like benefits the donor country.
Right. That's a classic realist move.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
So then on the other side, we have cosmopolitanism,
Right?
which like sounds way more idealistic.
It does.
You know,
It does.
like we should help
Yeah.
just because it's the right thing to do.
Exactly. They believe we have a moral obligation
Yeah,
to help those in need.
regardless of where they
Yeah.
live. It's
Yep.
kind of like we're all human. Right.
Exactly. Share humanity.
Yeah.
Poverty anywhere is
Yeah.
a problem for everyone.
Okay, so a cosmopolitan would say that like wealthy nations have to help poor nations
Yeah.
just because
Yeah. Simply because it's the right thing to do. No strings attached.
no ulterior motives.
Yeah. It's about recognizing that inherent dignity and worth
Yeah.
of every individual.
No matter where they're from.
Exactly.
Okay, but like this brings up a really important question.
Yeah.
Like, why should we care about development in the first place?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, like is it just charity
Right.
or is there like a deeper reason?
Philosophers and ethicists have been debating this for centuries.
Oh, wow.
But there are some compelling arguments out there
Okay.
for a development ethic.
Okay.
One of the biggest voices
Yeah.
in this whole debate
Right.
is Peter Singer.
Peter Singer.
Yeah.
Another one for the UPSC folks.
Right.
He's all about like maximizing happiness and minimizing suffering.
That's the essence of his philosophy.
Okay.
And he applies that directly to global poverty.
Right.
He argues that if we have the means to prevent suffering without sacrificing something equally important,
Okay.
then we have a moral obligation to do it.
I remember reading his book,
Yeah.
and he had this thought experiment.
Okay.
He compares it to, like, seeing a child drowning,
Oh, right.
in a shallow pond.
Yeah.
You could easily save them.
Right.
So wouldn't you?
Of course.
He's saying that, like, our obligation to help
Yeah.
those suffering from poverty is kind of the same thing.
It's a powerful analogy.
It is.
It makes you really think
Yeah.
about our responsibility.
To people far away.
Yeah.
So Singer's argument is all about maximizing well-being.
Right.
But are there other, like, frameworks?
There are. Another one is
Yeah.
based on the concept of human rights.
Okay.
The right to development, as it's called,
Right.
emphasizes that every person deserves a decent standard of living.
So it's not just about feeling bad for them.
Yeah.
It's about recognizing their rights.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our responsibility
Yeah.
to uphold those rights.
Okay.
This idea puts a moral imperative
Yeah.
on wealthier nations.
To help.
Yeah.
Okay, and then there's global justice.
Right.
It's kind of a bigger picture.
It is. It looks at the inequalities
Uh-huh.
between the global north and the global south.
So it's not just about, like, being kind.
No.
It's about...
It's about addressing the root causes.
Right.
The systems
Yeah.
that create poverty.
Okay, so there are some strong reasons
There are.
to support this whole idea
Yeah.
of a development ethic.
Yeah.
But does that mean that, like, international aid is the answer?
That's where things get tricky.
Right.
It's a hotly debated topic.
Like, remember the Millennium Development Goals?
Of course.
It seemed like everyone was on board.
Yeah.
But even those face criticism.
They did. Some people argue that aid can backfire.
Hmm.
It can create dependency, misused,
Right.
even undermine local economies.
William Easterly is pretty critical
Incredibly critical.
of the whole traditional aid approach.
Yeah.
He says that decades of aid, especially in Africa,
Yeah.
haven't really gotten the results.
It's a complex issue.
Yeah, he thinks that top-down approaches
Yeah.
often fail
Mm.
because they just don't fit.
They don't take into account
Yeah.
the specific needs of the community.
Right. Right.
So it's not as simple as just giving money.
Yeah, I read this one example about aid money
Right.
that never even reached the people it was meant for.
Yeah.
Because of, like, corruption and mismanagement.
Yeah.
It's kind of heartbreaking, you know?
It is. It shows how simply throwing money at a problem
Yeah.
doesn't always work.
So if just giving money doesn't work,
Right.
what does...
What does effective aid actually look like?
Yeah.
It's a tough question with no easy answers.
Is there, like, a model for success?
Well, Jeffrey Sachs, who we talked about earlier, he has some criteria for effective aid. He says it should be targeted, specific, measurable, accountable, and scalable.
Okay, that makes sense.
He also emphasizes the triple transformation.
Okay, break that down.
So the triple transformation means that aid needs to focus on 3 key areas:
Okay.
agriculture,
Uh-huh.
health, and infrastructure.
Okay, so agriculture first.
Right. So think about investing in sustainable farming, boosting food production, combating hunger.
Especially in places where food security is a big deal.
Exactly. It's about teaching people to fish.
Yeah, not just giving them fish.
Right. Building resilience
Yeah.
and self-sufficiency.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then there's health.
Okay.
Sachs is big on clean water, sanitation,
Yeah.
and basic health care.
Yeah, like all of the basics, right?
The building blocks
Yeah.
for a healthy, productive population.
Right. Hard to thrive without those.
Absolutely.
Okay, and the last one is infrastructure.
Right. So infrastructure is all about connections. Think about roads, bridges, communication networks. These things help people get to markets, schools, hospitals.
I was reading about this one aid project
Okay.
where they helped a rural community
Yeah.
get access to clean water
Okay.
by building a well
Right.
and showing them how to keep it running.
So simple.
It was small,
Yeah.
but it made a huge difference.
Right. Their health improved.
Yeah.
Less burden on fetching water, more time for other things.
Wonderful.
It shows what can happen.
Yeah.
When aid is targeted and well-designed.
Yeah.
It's about empowering communities
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
take control of their own development.
Okay, all of this sounds good in theory,
Yeah.
but can we talk about aid without talking about, like, the political side of things.
Of course not. You bring up a crucial point.
Right.
Even with the best of intentions, aid can be mixed up with politics.
Then we talked about the realist perspective.
Yeah.
The whole nations acting out of self-interest thing.
So what you're saying is that even aid that looks good might have another agenda.
Yeah.
It happens all the time.
So aid is often linked to trade deals.
Yeah.
And then there's like food dumping, right?
Yeah.
Where developed nations send their extra food to developing countries, which like undercuts local farmers.
It does.
It's complicated.
It is.
Because good intentions can actually have bad consequences.
So here's a question for you, and especially for those of you getting ready for the UPSC exams. How can we make sure that aid is actually used for development?
Right.
And not just for political games.
The big question.
A challenge that policymakers face all the time.
Yeah.
It's a tough one.
It is.
But it's important.
Yeah.
Really important.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've been talking a lot about the evolution of how we think about development. The arguments for and against aid.
Yeah, and the challenges of making sure it's effective.
Right. So what are the key takeaways here?
I think the biggest one is that it's really, really complicated.
It is.
You know, international development. It's not just about like money.
No.
It's about ethics and politics and culture and finding solutions that actually work in the real world.
Exactly.
Okay, so before we wrap up this whole thing, we want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
Imagine that you're in charge.
Okay.
Like you're shaping India's development policy.
Interesting.
What would be your top priority?
Right. How would you approach it?
Yeah.
What would you focus on?
It's something to really consider.
It is.
You know, like how do we balance what's good for India with our responsibilities?
It's the rest of the world.
Right. How do we make sure that our aid is actually helpful?
Right.
Sustainable.
And that it empowers people.
These are big questions.
They are. And they're going to shape the future of development.
Yeah.
So we need people like you, informed, engaged, to be part of the conversation.
All right. So that's it.
That's it for today.
A deep dive into development ethics and international aid.
We hope you found it useful.
And that it, like, got you thinking.
Made you curious to learn more.
Don't forget to like this video and subscribe.
And share it.
Yeah, share it with your friends.
Yeah.
Especially if they're into this whole, like, international relations thing.
Yeah, spread the word.
And stay tuned for more deep dives.
See you next time.
Until next time.
Take care. It's tough, you know?
Yeah.
There's no, like, one answer.
Right.
But I think transparency and accountability, those are huge.
Yeah.
We need to know where the money goes.
Right. And make sure it's used for what it's meant for.
Exactly. And that's where groups like the World Bank and the IMF come in.
Right.
They're trying to keep an eye on things.
And make sure things are done properly.
Yeah. Promote good governance.
Yeah. And it's also about making sure that that the people who are actually receiving the aid, that they have a say.
Absolutely. They know their needs best.
Yeah.
Their input is key.
Right. You can have like the most amazing plan.
You can.
But if it doesn't actually like work in the real world,
right,
it's not going to work.
It's going to fail.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
It's about understanding the context, the reality on the ground.
It's all like super relevant if you're studying for the UPSC exams.
Absolutely. Understanding all this about aid and development.
It's really important.
It is.
If you want to work in, international relations.
Especially if you want to make policy.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not enough to know the theory.
Right.
You need to know how to put it into practice.
Yeah. So for the UPSC folks out there,
right,
you really got to like dive deep into this stuff.
You do.
The history, the theories.
Examples.
The real world examples.
Yeah, both good and bad.
Yeah.
You need to analyze, critique, propose solutions.
And think about, India's role in all this.
Yeah. What kind of partner do we want to be?
Right.
What are our priorities?
Right. And how can we,
how can we help create a fairer world?
These are the questions that, policymakers and future diplomats need to be thinking about.
Absolutely.
India, I mean, we have a unique perspective.
We have experience.
Right.
We've been there.
Yeah, we've faced these challenges.
We understand the complexities.
Yeah, and we can share.
Absolutely, especially with other developing countries.
Yeah, it's an exciting field.
It is.
Challenging, but exciting.
Full of opportunities.
Yeah, to actually make a difference.
But it all starts with understanding the basics.
Exactly. It's a lot, right? Like we've gone through so much.
We have.
Changing views on development, ethical stuff. The real, like, nitty-gritty of aid.
It's messy.
It is messy.
Yeah.
And there are no easy answers.
No.
But I think what matters is, like, being informed.
Being engaged.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So this deep dive, I mean, it was really just a peak.
A starting point.
Yeah.
Especially for you UPSC folks.
Right.
This is like prime exam material.
Oh, yeah?
Think about it. Analyzing India's development assistance or critiquing a specific aid program.
Yeah, those are real questions they could ask.
Exactly. What we talked about today, it's a foundation. You got to build on that.
Yeah. And it's not just for exams either.
No.
Like we can all benefit from understanding this stuff.
Whether it's supporting good organizations, advocating for better policies, even just like talking to people about it.
Your friends, your family.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Everyone has a role to play.
Yeah, totally.
Even small things, when enough people do them, they can make a difference.
Okay, so that's it for today.
That's our deep dive
into this, like, often ignored
Yeah.
world of development ethics and international aid.
Well, you learned something.
Yeah, maybe it challenged you a bit.
Made you think.
Yeah, maybe even inspired you a little.
We'd love to hear your thoughts, by the way.
Oh, yeah, leave a comment.
Tell us what resonated with you.
Yeah. What questions do you have?
Let's keep the conversation going.
And don't forget to like.
Subscribe.
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Share it around.
Yeah, with anyone who might find it, interesting.
Exactly.
So until next time.
Keep diving deep.
Yeah, keep asking those questions.
And keep learning. See you next time.